Hello and welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Aaron Porras, and coming up in today's newscast, a string of terror attacks rampaging through Israel and the West Bank over the weekend. Meanwhile, the UN finally releasing its biased and anti-Semitic report following Operation Guardian of the Walls in 2021. And later, Israelis voted the 5th most educated people in the OECD. A senior member of the Palestinian terror group Lion's Den was killed last night in Nablus in an apparent targeted assassination. This as security incidents in Jerusalem and the territories included a terrorist stabbing and car ramming attack. More from ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
A leading member of the emerging Lion's Den Palestinian terrorist group was killed overnight in the Nablus blast. Tamir Kilani was a central figure in the group, which has claimed near nightly attacks on Israeli troops and civilians in recent months. The blast came at about 1:30 in the morning, when an explosive device attached to a motorcycle detonated. Lion's Den issued a statement claiming that an Israeli collaborator planted the explosive device. An Israeli defense official said that Tamir Kilani was directly involved in the terrorist attempt last month in Tel Aviv, Yafo. Lion's Den has claimed responsibility for the majority of shooting attacks in the Nablus area since it was formed in August. In Jerusalem, a young Israeli man was stabbed and seriously hurt on Saturday afternoon in a Palestinian terrorist stabbing. The attacker was shot and killed by an officer after a brief chase. According to the Magen David Adom ambulance service, the victim in his 20s was found seriously hurt in a park on Sheshet Hayamim Street in the Givat HaMiftar neighborhood between French Hill and Ramat Eshkol. The ultra-Orthodox man was taken by ambulance to Shaarei Tzedek Medical Center. The victim has undergone surgery and remains in very serious condition. A large number of officers were dispatched to the scene to search for the stabber, who fled by foot. An officer identified the suspect brandishing a sharp object in a soccer field in the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, close to the police headquarters, and began a pursuit. The suspect then turned and moved toward the officer, who fired and neutralized him. Earlier Saturday, a Palestinian driver slammed into a guard post at a crossing in the northern West Bank in what Israeli authorities described as a suspected car ramming. No Israeli forces were injured in the incident.
At long last, both Israel and Lebanon indicating a positive end to their maritime border negotiations. The Biden administration has been updated, and United States State Department envoy Amos Hochstein set to arrive in Lebanon this week ahead of a potential signing ceremony. The long-discussed Israel-Lebanon maritime border agreement finally reaching an end, including delineations on ownership over several important gas fields off of the Mediterranean coast. Jerusalem saying the agreement could be signed by Wednesday this week, which is the earliest the government could ratify the proposal after the 2-week review period in the Knesset. The final green light, meantime, coming from the Israeli High Court over the weekend after rejecting a number of petitions to kill the deal filed by 2 NGOs, Kohelet and Levi. Additionally, religious Zionist MK Itamar Ben-Gvir petitioning to kill the agreement, but the court reviewing all of the arguments and deciding against the petitions, with the explanations of their votes set to be published in the coming weeks. Then once the deal is signed, assuming it will be, both Jerusalem and Beirut will confirm the terms of the deal with the United Nations, after which Lebanon will meet with Syria to update their borders as outlined in the agreement. Now moving north, Syria claims that Israeli missiles targeted areas near Damascus late Friday night. This is the first alleged Israeli strike since the attack on Damascus airport that killed 5 people over a month ago, and 4 months since the airport was put out of service for 2 weeks. Syria, meantime, is boasting that some of the missiles were intercepted. For more, ILTV's Steve Leibowitz.
Israel did not take credit for the attack in Damascus and rarely comments on specific targeting in Syria. Israel has acknowledged carrying out hundreds of attacks since the civil war erupted in Syria in 2011. The targets reportedly include government troops, as well as allied Iran-backed forces and Hezbollah fighters, and military supplies and targets. In a related development, there are reports that Russia has removed its S-300 anti-aircraft system from Syria. The move could give Israel more freedom over Syria's skies, even as ties with Moscow have cratered. Israeli and Western officials told the New York Times the development could affect Jerusalem's calculations on providing aid to Ukraine. Russia's presence in Syria has been a major consideration for Israel's position on sending weapons to Ukraine. The transfer of the S-300 anti-aircraft system out of Syria comes amid a larger Russian drawdown in the country as it seeks to bolster its war effort against Ukraine. Israeli officials told the New York Times that at least 1,600 Russian troops have been pulled from Syria, adding that the redeployment could decrease Russian leverage on Israel, and this may lead Jerusalem to reconsider its support for Ukraine.
Joining me now to discuss the recent strikes in Syria, CEO and founder of the Israel Defense and Security Forum, Brigadier General Reserves Amir Avivi. Amir, people are saying that Israeli strikes are likely increasing because of the removal of Russian S-300s in Syria. Do you suspect an increase of alleged Israeli activity in response to this?
I don't think there is a connection. I think that at the end of the day, the IDF is attacking according to the intelligence they have. Even during the time the S-300 was placed, Israel continued to attack all the time according to the intelligence it had in order to stop the buildup of force of accurate missiles for Hezbollah. In the last months, we have seen a large decrease in Israeli attacks. This could be for two reasons: or there wasn't the relevant intelligence, or I suspect that it's because the Iranians were focusing more on what they are doing in Ukraine, on moving capabilities from Iran to Ukraine, and for a certain extent, it decreased the level of attention to the Syrian Lebanese area. So this is maybe an explanation for why for a whole month we haven't heard about any Israeli attack.
Do you think that Iranian forces in Syria, Lebanon, Iraq are in any way more vulnerable because of the ongoing protests in Iran?
Well, definitely this can be a game changer. I mean, if the protests will continue, if we'll have luck and actually the protesters will manage to overcome this vicious government, this can be a huge, huge deal. I mean, we remember historically the good relations Israel had with Iran. We know that the Iranian people, they like Israel and they like Jews, and we're really dealing with a very small and extreme group that is controlling this big state. So as long as the Iranians are really concentrated on what is happening inside Iran, this might be in the future quite a big game changer.
Well, now, how might Iran or Iranian proxies actually retaliate against Israel if Israel increases pressure? Will it not beg a response in some way from Tehran?
We are talking about pressure in Syria, I presume.
Correct. Yes.
First of all, I would like to connect it to the maritime agreement. I mean, I can tell you that my organization is very unhappy about that because we did a deal under a terror threat, and we gave up everything, 100% of what we were discussing for so many years. I think this will affect the ability of Israel to show strength in the area. I think that Hezbollah is coming here with the upper hand, and this might motivate them to challenge Israel, maybe not in Karish, maybe not in the sea, but definitely along the border, and definitely it can be also on the Syrian border. So we might see a change and more audacity from Iran, from Hezbollah, and maybe other players due to this process we saw in the last few weeks.
Well, that's actually my next question. Hezbollah has been known to routinely operate against Israel in the demilitarized zone between Israel and Lebanon, and of course from Syria as well. Does Israel expect similar action in the Mediterranean? And if these security issues were brought up, presumably in the High Court, why did the High Court overturn them and vote in favor of approving this deal. To watch full episodes of ILTV's Israel Daily and tons of other content from Israel, visit our website at iltv.tv or download the ILTV Plus app.